Okay, this meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So,
Good deal, man.
thank you for giving me this invitation, my friend. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad to have you. I actually have probably wanted to talk to you for a long time. And I do believe that I was on an interview with you for a short period of time. I don't remember how long because they did long shows back then. But I was on a broadcast with you with I think D13, and I was only on for a short time because I could only be on for like an hour. But I remember hearing you speak, but I never got a chance to ask you any questions. And I think I've looked at a lot of your videos. I'm talking hundreds of your videos probably over the last few years. So, yeah.
I am prolific, if not anything else, man. I got
Yeah,
like
man,
4,000 videos, man.
I'm super interested. And you normally what I'll do for because I'll record and I'll introduce and I'll do that separately than we do on this video. But I usually just like to get, kind of into who the person I'm talking to is so that they can kind of give their background to everyone that's listening. And then we can get into a specific matter, which obviously in your case, we're going to be talking about the fossils and the mud fossils and all of these giants and dragons that are everywhere and just whatever you might think they are. And so I'd like to, just start out, man, tell people what they should know about you.
Well, I'm just a curious person. I've always, it's just the way I've been. And, I've been into everything. I really went deep into quantum and physics and electronics and all of that stuff, mechanical things, right after I got out of the Army. And this goes like a zillion years ago, back to 1970. Now, I was just a normal guy doing life, living my life, and I had a business. So I was sort of free to think on my own. I didn't have to fall under anybody's thumb. So that's how I lived my life. And when I retired, something happened. I don't know what, man. It just happened. Something in my brain said, you got to go in the woods. Go look in the woods. I went and looked in the woods. I found a giant human body part of it, not instantly, but I had this compulsion to find something. I didn't know what it was going to be. So anyway, I found it, and when I started showing these things to people, they just, they did not react well. So I ended up getting a DNA tested and CAT scanned and all this stuff, and I had a bunch of them, not just one. Like you say, you've seen a lot of my videos, right?
Yeah, I've seen lots of them. Probably hundreds, I guess, over time. If you count going all the way back to, I want to say like 2015, probably.
That's when I really started to get real active because I got no results. I started in 2012. I found, or maybe it was even 2010, somewhere around there. I found these things that, at first I was a little hesitant to start showing them to people because I think you're crazy, and I still do. And but I had so much evidence, there was no way to deny it. So when I approached Yale, which is right down the road from me, basically 15 minutes away, I get a hold of them and I tell them exactly what I had found out. And by this time, this was about 2014 or so, I had everything done. I knew the process, I knew what happened, and it was the fact of the Great Flood. That's what created the mud fossils. It was a boiling hot flood. All right, I'm going to go off a little track away from me, but I'm just a normal person that I found this stuff, and I was compelled, and I think for some reason I'm meant to do this. But I started studying everything that could possibly create these mud fossils because they're perfect, identical, fleshy little things, even birds and all of that stuff with their feathers and everything. So I started to dig deep into chemistry, which I was already in. and I realized it was something called nucleophilic substitution and invasion. All it means is big words. All it means is in a boiling hot flood, which is what we had, because Venus literally, in my opinion, hit Earth and it caused the Grand Canyon. And it boiled the oceans. Velikovsky had all that recorded information he had gleaned from all the cultures in the world. They had the same story about 1500 BC. There was a terrible catastrophe, and they talked about the mountains being melted like wax and the oceans overwhelmed. And actually, at that time, and it's recorded in the Bible, the earth stood still. Now, Venus hitting us, I looked at where I consider the impact site to be, and the angle of that impact site, and the spin of the Earth towards that angle would have literally pushed and shoved our magnetic field and could have stopped the Earth from spinning, literally stopped it. But it would start back up again because of the process of being pulled forward around the sun. Now, the whole thing happened just as was advertised, and the oceans flooded, but over the all over the earth they flooded everything, and they created what's called the Triassic. Now, if a geologist hears this, he goes, "Oh no! The Triassic was 250 million years ago." I said, no, that's not true. There's 3 layers of soils. There's a red bed, a gray clay, and a black cap, and that's where all my mud fossils are found. And because the oceans boiled, they cleaned out all of the stuff that was in the fleshy stuff, boiled it out, and then as the chemistry in that area invaded it, causing it to substitute to whatever it is. Because I have fingers here that are like glass. I have other ones that are just mud, and there's still fingers. So it's not like, you understand what I'm saying? It's not like one body part they always turned into quartz. No. Some do. I have a heart here. It's a complete heart, and it's 100% made with quartz because that invaded it in the place where it was. Like the Mitch's, you know about the Mitch's Hedges skull?
No, I don't.
I haven't heard of that? It's a glass skull. It's absolutely flawless. And I looked it over, and they claimed that no, it had to be made by humans because they have all kinds of reasons. No, it's a true skull. And
are you talking about the Paracas skulls, the crystal skulls there, or is this something different?
It's a crystal skull, but this one here was it's called a Mitch's Hedges skull. And this woman,
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, this woman discovered it, and she's been called a fraud her whole life because she said no, absolutely, and she's never backed down. And it's still around, and it's flawless. And they said, no, it had to be fake because there's these little grooves that run across the top of the skull. Now, they don't know about tendons. On the skull, you have what's called an aponeurosis tendon. They're little grooves that run straight down the back. All your skull cap is made out of that stuff. But if you look inside of that crystal skull, you can see all the network of nerves. There's no way, nobody could have put that in there. I show that with, I guess it's an MRI right next to that skull, and you can see the exact same nerves, everything's the same inside the skull. So all this stuff is real.
So the anatomy is all 100% like on target with everything. And then there's a story in the Bible, you probably heard about it, Sodom and Gomorrah, where the people, like I guess Lot's wife turns into a pillar of salt and completely changes in her structure to this salt. And so, I mean, I don't feel like it's outside the realm of possibility for that kind of thing to happen, especially over time. I mean, as far as different locations, do you find that in some locations it's almost all quartz, and then some locations it's almost all mud or almost all stone? Like, is there anything to locationally that would change this makeup, or is it mostly just random with that?
100% you're on target here. Here's the deal. If a body part is in among blood, saturated with blood, after it died and went through its process of nucleophilic substitution and invasion, first of all, it cleans itself out in this mixture of blood, but it's in like a soup of blood. And that's where Australia is. Australia is literally like a scab. It's just a big blob of blood. And that's where you get opals from. Now, opals have all those different colors. You know what an opal is, of course.
Right.
Right. And there's areas in Australia where they call them yoa nuts, and they're organs that have turned into opal, and they form unbelievable patterns. But you can see the heart and everything. I could show you all this stuff if do you want to see some of this stuff?
Yeah, let's see it, man. Absolutely. I think people would love to see that, and I know I would. So
yeah, I'm not going to do a share my screen. I'm not too good at this, but disabled.
Yeah, I think I'll have to enable it when you ask for it. So go ahead and hit the share, and then I think it'll give you an option for whatever screen, and then I should just. I mean, you may not even make me enable it.
Disabled share, it says. Host disabled, attendee share.
Hold on. Let's see. Try it again to see if that did anything.
Yeah, you got it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, now, let me do this. Now that we know we can get to it, let me grab a couple of shots.
Okay.
I'm going to show you some of the things that we're talking about here. All right, and okay, let me come back to the deal here. Here we go. All right, you see that, right?
Yep, I see that.
All right. That is what I'm talking about. That's a heart. Now, normally you would not get all those colors. The reason you have those colors is because of transition metals. And every transition metal has its own color. And this is nothing where the blood is. It has all those different transition metals in it. And they have found partners to partner up with, like on this. You see the blue, like my cursor's gone?
Yeah. No, I can see your cursors.
Yeah, and that's the ventricle walls. And these up here are the valves, the heart valves. And this is opal, and this happens because of blood. Blood is the key. Now, other ones develop where there is no blood, and they could turn just into quartz, 100% quartz. Oh, let me show you that Mitchell Hedges. Let me set that up, hold on.
That's wild, man. So that's like, I mean, that looks like you just cut into a heart and you're showing a heart pattern.
Oh yeah, no question. It was a heart, absolutely. Hold on. All right, now, can you see this now? The heart, the skull.
Not yet. I see the heart right now.
You still see the heart? Okay, hold on. I got to start over, I think, or
Okay.
stop sharing. Hold on. I'm not real good with this.
That's all good, man. That's why I like to pre-record, because it makes it easier. We can just always cut all that stuff out. And
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share the screen again. All right, wait till you see this. This is a crystal skull. All right. Now, as you can see, it's hard to believe it's real. You see the teeth, how perfect they are? That's what freaked me out in the beginning. But if you do the anatomy and you look to the left here, this is a brain scan. Look at the fibers going up and down towards the neck and the cerebrum in the back, the big ball there. I think, yes, cerebrum. And all those fibers and so forth. Now look at the crystal skull, and you see the same pattern going right up here as that blue. You see it? And behind it is the one that goes behind. And this time there's a gap in the back. Instead of filling up like this one over here, it goes all the way towards the back of the skull. And this one drifted forward. It did because he died on his face. You see the lip is pushed back and the nose is pushed back? He died on his face, and he was in a condition where it completely evacuated all of the biological stuff in there. And that's when quartz invades. And the quartz invaded everywhere that was vacant, and wherever there's membranes and like the nerve fibers, they take on they're strong. They don't change into crystal like the rest of them.
That's wild. That is wild. Yeah, I wonder, so when you see the crystals, where is the main geographical locations where you find crystallized parts of the body? I wonder, because I live in the Ohio River Valley, and there's so many things, random things here you'll find. You'll find the little mounds all over the place, and all these ruins of ancient civilizations, but mostly you have like a clay structure material here. But I'm curious to where would the crystals be mostly native to?
Well, it's you have to first of all have an area that had a lot of boiling for a long time, which a lot of them did. It was hot. I live in an area what's called a basin. And my mud fossils were cooked for a long time. And this particular area is one of the best areas it is the best area in the world for this Triassic rock, which they don't realize is from the Great Flood. And it's 3 layers. It's a gray clay because that's the boiled flesh. The first thing that happened was the flesh boiled. The second thing that happened was, so that's the red bed. It's just mud. Like you say, you live in a red clay area?
It's not red clay. It's mostly just regular clay. It's Ohio River Valley area clay. So, I don't know. Like, you probably have to go deeper within that soil to find stuff like that. But there are areas that are rocks everywhere, and
wherever there is rocks, those were body parts. I'm telling you right now, they were body parts.
So every rock is a body part.
100%. 100%. It's not necessarily a complete body part, but it's going to be a fractured off piece of something, or even mud, clay, all eroded biology. Now some we had in the Great Flood was the red bed, was the flesh. And that's what caused the flesh to coat this one layer, which worldwide, every place in the world has this layer of red bed. On top of that, there's something called gray clay or green clay. And it depends on where they were in the world as to, that's mostly, plant life. And that's settled on top of the red bed, which blood and red flesh is kind of heavy. Plant life is much less heavy. So it's settled on top of that in a complete layer. And then on top of that, there's a black cap. So you got red bed, gray clay, black cap. And those three layers are found here. And I have a human footprint right in the middle of all three of those layers. And they won't look at it. They refuse to examine it. It's amazing what this and it's totally amazing.
So that takes this verse that I remember from the Bible to a whole different level of maybe taking it literally, but in the Bible it talks about Yahweh splitting Leviathan and Behemoth, and basically it kind of also talks about that in the way of the earth and the water and all of that, like separating this great beast. And almost like every civilization, it talks about something like this. And, they separated the dragon or whatever. They split the dragon. And now I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, maybe this is actually like literally what, like, is this what you're saying the earth is? Everything like the soil, the things that rise from it? Is that what you're...
Everything there ever was and there ever will be is biological, as far as I can determine. Now, I'm talking about stuff in space. Bennu. Have you seen Bennu?
No, man. I'm not. That's why I've had you on here, because I've not only have I got requested by a lot of people, but I've seen a lot of your work, but I haven't seen everything. So
yeah, well,
you'd like to show us, please do.
Yeah, let me see if I can get to it. Let's see if this will work. All right, here's asteroid Bennu. I'd like to be able to scroll through these. I don't know if I will be able to, but if I can, this should blow your mind. Well, let's start with this one. All right, you see what you're looking at now?
See.
Yeah, this is the sample. This is the sample they went out and got from asteroid Bennu, which is a heart in space. These little square blocks down here on the right are what's called muscle sarcomeres. And they are the little bits of muscle. To the left here, where you see the little white flaky stuff below, which is a membrane, and then the sarcomeres, and above is a membrane, and then more sarcomeres, and they're layered and layered and layered, because that's how muscle works. Now, this is actually asteroid Bennu. Now look at it. You see this round circle here? That's a valve. This is a valve. This is a valve. Now stay with me. This is what they look like which you just saw, but it's just kind of scruffy. This one is Psyche, which is another heart in space. I'm not kidding you. It's another heart in space. And they're sending a rocket ship to there right now because they want to get the metal. There's a ton of metals in blood. Blood is just saturated with metals. So they're headed to this one here, and they just came back from Bennu, and they came back from Bennu with heart muscle. All right, and here's what they spent way over $1 billion to go out there and get this, and they have it in their hands. Now this one here is Psyche, which is another one. It's a metal asteroid. They claim. You see this over here? Ryan? That's a tube. That's a tube sticking out. All right, that's a tube, my friend. So this thing is a heart. There's zero question about that. These are the valves, and this is also, they're headed out there now. Now, this is what it looks like if you back off. The black, the red, and the yellow are the colors of blood. That's what happens with blood. The 3 different oxygenation states. And you got to be a little bit into this chemistry and all that. Here's another tube. That's a tube. All right, so that's Psyche. Hold on. Now, this is where they landed. And they blew out all kind of stuff. And they went down 2, 4, 6, 8 meters. And that's where they grabbed the heart muscle from. All right? And you can see the black hates the red. They will never want to be touching each other. You see how it almost looks like it's painted? That's why they separate right on that line. And all the whoops. Hold on. And all the plumbing pops off. That's how they get down to the valves. You see right here? We were looking down in these valves. All this stuff goes away because there's a line right across here. You see it right here? They pop right off and you can see right down into the insides. You with me so far on this?
I'm with you, yeah. And what are they expecting to find down in there? You said metals?
Metals, yeah. That's blood is here's what happens in your body. As you transfer things in your body, it's called nucleophilic substitution. So you bring in things all the time and change the molecules that are in your body. You can't eat a carrot and it turns into a muscle. It doesn't happen. You need enzymes to do like unbelievable amount of chemistry instantaneously. And that's another thing. The doctors don't understand enzymes. Enzymes work with half-lives. And half-lives are how long it takes something to break down. Some of the things that happen because of enzymes happen so fast, in less than 1 second, it would take millions of years to do that same chemistry if you didn't have the enzyme. They're unbelievable. And bacteria create them. And our bacteria is under assault. So this goes deep. There's a lot of things here. But anyway, this is a heart, and we were looking right down into those valves. And these are how the muscle twists. And we're looking right down into those valves. All this stuff goes away from the top, pops right off. Now, here's something cool. I think I showed you Bennu, but maybe I'll have to show you again. These are heart sarcomeres. Now, remember I showed you the sarcomeres and then the membranes over the top and bottom. These are what they are. Mm-hmm. These are the sarcomeres. Now, they have a membrane on the top, they have a membrane on the bottom, and they're supposed to slide and glide. This one here is ripped. It's an injury. It's a heart attack. Now, remember this picture. We'll have to see it again. That's just giant hearts. That's a giant heart and lungs. Somewhere on Earth, I don't know. People send me all kinds of things. This is my sample I have here, which is muscle and tendon and all that stuff. Here it is right here. This is the sarcomeres. Remember I showed you?
Mm-hmm.
These are the ones they came back from Benya with. And they have a layer on the top and on the bottom, which is the membrane. And they said, wow, this is they called it the phosphate surprise. And that's because membranes are made out of phospholipids. And there's a membrane on the top and one on the bottom. They're phosphate surprise. And these are the sarcomeres. And these things have all the amino acids, they have the RNA, they have all the signatures of DNA, they have all the biology, they have the anatomy, and they still, I'm not allowed to speak about this. There they are right there. That's what they came back with from a heart, which was what I just showed you, those hearts. Crazy, huh?
It is crazy. And what would have had to happen to have these random organs just kind of floating through space and, randomly throughout the earth? I mean, what kind of war was going on, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, here's what happened. According to the ancient text, which now I am pretty well believing. Hold on one second. Whoops. All right. You still with me?
I'm still with you.
Okay. Here's the deal. I am a big believer in the ancient texts now, and I always liked Velikovsky. Are you familiar with him?
Absolutely, yeah. Velikovsky, and I can't remember, his book was about something about
World
or something in chaos.
He had three books.
Chaos.
3 books.
Yeah, I've read them, and I remember about the tilt and the ice ages and all the different things. But yeah, I'm familiar with at least some of his work. I can't say that I've read every one of them, but I'm definitely familiar.
Yeah, he went back to all the ancient texts, and he looked back at all the ancient writers and what they had to say about our past and all the cultures that weren't even in touch with each other, what they had written in their sacred texts and what has passed down in their cultural heritage. And you see all these dances and all of this mumbo jumbo going on, and you wonder, what are these people doing? They're crazy. They have big hats and huge things, and we look at it like it's silly. But I'm starting to think, not so silly. The things that they had written are just incredible. If you ever read Apollodorus or Hesiod, Ovid, Metamorphosis, it's the gods that were in control, and there were gods in control. And you've seen the dragon in the desert?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I have, man. I saw that one where you took I think it was the Google Earth image over there and showed the wings and all of that.
I showed it. Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah, I showed all the different dragons on Earth, basically, and there's a bunch of them. And the one in the Middle East, in Morocco, is Typhon, and he's mentioned in the ancient texts in Apollodorus 1.6.3. And what happened was Typhon was birthed by Gaia having intercourse with Tartarus. I'm not kidding you, this is what was written, 800 BC. And Gaia had sex with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon, who was so tall his head often brushed the stars. That's what they said. And he's like 1,200 miles long. Now, he was attacking the fish in the desert. Did you see the fish in the desert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing. If you can pull, do you have that handy to pull up so people can kind of see what we're talking about?
If I can do Google
to somebody that yeah, you can. I think you can do Google Earth, and
I think I can too. Hold on.
I think yeah.
Share screen.
Yeah, we might as well share it if we can do it, and that way people can get a good look at what you're talking about. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are familiar with you, but I'm sure there's going to be some people that have no idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you can't even imagine it.
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get Google Earth up. Let me just see something, John.
All right, take your time, dude. It's all good.
Let's see.
I'm gonna air this tonight, by the way. It'll take me a while to edit it, but just to get it narrowed down. But we'll be running it tonight. This is gonna be cool. I think people are gonna be mind blown. I'm starting to think those texts are all like pretty.
The crossing of the sea.
There is a battlefield at the bottom of the Red Sea. We're not talking about a single shipwreck. We're talking about an entire Egyptian army. A recent high-tech dive has just uncovered what amateur explorers have claimed for years. Hundreds of
Hold on. Sorry, brother.
Oh, it's okay.
No, I'm sort of stuck somewhere.
Take your time, dude. No hurries. This is why I like to pre-record too, because it's easy to do whatever and cut it out if we have to, because and I'm pretty proficient with the editing, so I don't mind doing it.
Let's see. Am I still with you?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm stuck in this Never Land, man. Hold on. Oh, I'm back. I live. Back alive. I'm so bad at this. It's terrible. But
yeah, that never-ending screen thing is confusing when it gets in one of those overlaps.
Yeah, the Google Earth, if I could get to it. But I don't know if I can. It seems like I should have it going, but it doesn't come up. Anyway, it's there, and it's easy for somebody to find. So
yeah, I'll have to send me a clip of that, and I can overlay it while you're talking about that. But go ahead with what you're saying. You're saying when these texts say this happened and the earth kind of brought forth this monster, you're saying that's legit and literal, and looking at biblically too, because I've been studying the Bible for a long time and other ancient texts as well. In the Bible, it does say, like, let the earth bring forth things after this kind, and after its kind, and it says let the water bring forth things after its kind. So, like, if you take the Bible literally, what it's saying there, it's saying kind of the same thing you're saying, but this is almost a manipulation of the things that maybe were meant to happen. We're talking about like a manipulation of a massive creature that is basically can devour everything in its path.
Well, the Bible starts at a place where people can start to live with what they're saying. the stuff I'm talking about, nobody would ever believe. Not within 100 or 200 years of these events, they were considered idiots talking about it because it was so off the charts. These were dragons that were thousands of miles long. There's body parts in space. That heart is 140 miles wide, 140 miles, and that's a heart. And there's zero question about that. And these, everything I have found, Comet 67P, same thing. It's a hip joint in space. It's gigantic. Now, what happened was Venus was born from the feared god Jupiter. Now, have you seen my videos about Jupiter giving birth to Venus?
I haven't, but I've definitely heard the mythology behind it, but I'm interested in hearing.
Well, Velikovsky claimed that people said that the feared god Jupiter, who is Zeus, gave birth to a fiery comet, which is the one that hit the Earth. Now, I believe it hit the Grand Canyon. When I know geology pretty damn well, but I know it as biology that's turned hard, and it's gigantic, and it ripped the guts all the way, the creature's top body, all the way down to its guts, which are the stomach and intestines, and all that stuff is in the Grand Canyon, and it pushed all that stuff down into Mexico. If you look at it on the Google Earth, you can't miss it. And it's what happened to all this stuff? It's gone. The Grand Canyon. Why does all of a sudden these drop 500 feet and everything's gone? It didn't wash away. It got slapped down into Mexico. And again, if you look at it, there's just no denying it. And you can't deny the biology of the Grand Canyon either. These guys are looking at these huge bricks and squared off blocks that are all over, Desert Drifter and those guys. The poor guy died in an accident. Not in that, he was in a car accident, but, rest in peace. But they're seeing these huge, gigantic blocks, and they're skin cells. And I had my friend Tyson Carlson over in the West Coast there in Oregon. He found membranes, which you can't deny them. They're 100% certainty. And they are 6 feet thick. Membrane. In us, our membranes, you could hold it up and look through it like a window because they're so thin. These are the kind of things. And in Apollodorus, he writes about this. He says the first thing was Gaia and the sky, which is Uranus. They mated, and they had monsters. And they started with the 100-handers. You ever hear of this?
Mm-hmm.
100 hands and 50 heads. And they were monsters. And Uranus locked them up inside Tartarus because he couldn't stand them. And then she had the Cyclopses. And then she had some other monsters. And he wouldn't let them out, and the giants and all that stuff. Titans. And they were crazy things. And they were locked up by Uranus. And finally they cut his testicles off. So he couldn't have any more kids. And then they took the universe away from him because he was the ruler and he was keeping the kids in Tartarus. And he goes on and on and on about how there was gods and giants, and the gods killed all the giants. All right, now the giants were her kids. They were Earth's kids. They were monsters. They were crazy, yes, but they were her kids. Now the gods were planets and other celestial beings. They weren't her kids. They ganged up and killed all the giants, wiped them out. She got pissed off, and created Typhon, who was the giant dragon, and he was supposed to kill the gods. And right in Apollodorus 1.6.3, it says he attacked the gods, and when they saw him coming, they tried to hide and change themselves into animals, and he got the fish. It's right there, and the fish was Ares. And this stuff is written. I didn't write that, but you can see it. It's like painted right on the desert. Now that's the crazy thing. It's like if somebody painted it there. It's just so obvious. You can't even. There's no way in the world you could deny it. So.
When I guess I'm sure that through a lot of this research that you've done, you received lots of criticism from who knows how many people. But what is your, I guess, if you were to say this is the best piece of evidence that anybody can go down a rabbit hole with when it comes to this stuff, what would you say? Where would you say to start? I guess is what I would say, because I mean, you got obviously you know that anytime you bring up a topic to people about something that they are unfamiliar with, you've got to kind of start somewhere with this topic. So where do you start with this?
Well, I just tell them that. Well, first of all, they got to be interested in questioning, like you. They got to be somebody that wants to hear something, whether they believe it or don't believe it. It's fine, but they have an inquisitive mind. And if they're open-minded as well, then you can present and make a good presentation. But first of all, they start by the only bones preserved. And I say, no, that's not correct. This nucleophilic substitution and invasion, I've done it. I actually made them. And Yale also agrees with this now. They agree. It's called, if you look up the paper, it's called Exceptional Preservation of Soft-Bodied Edicarta biota. They just gave it a name, but it's soft-bodied creatures created by silica-rich oceans. That's the name of their paper. And that's from the guy that I gave all my research to. And that's exactly what I told him years before this. And he refused to see my evidence. And now, I finally decided I would do everything that was necessary in the scientific realm. So I had my samples DNA tested, 3 of them. All I wanted to know was a human DNA. And all 3 of them came back yes, which is the mitochondrial side. Not the father's side. There's nuclear and there's mitochondrial. Mitochondrial, everybody has the same mitochondrial DNA, which tells you that's the species. So we're not Homo erectus, we're not whatever else. We're modern human, as same as that giants. They had the same maternal DNA. Which points back to the fact that they came down and had sex with the women. As the gods could change themselves into anything they wanted. Anything they wanted. So they did. They changed themselves into really hot-looking, buff guys, came down and set up sex shops all over the place. That's what they were doing. And they had sex palaces, and that's what they came down to do. And they could change themselves into anything. So they're, like, say, a 6-foot guy having sex with a 5-foot woman, whatever. And the kid is born as a normal human birth, and then they grew to be 2.5 miles tall because their DNA or whatever was in there in the male side had that affinity to go forever. Now we still have the maternal side, which is still whatever that size was, similar to that size, because it starts out, almost every ancient text claims that we were about 90 feet tall or more in the beginning. People were just that tall. And the Quran also says that Allah made made man so many cubits, and it works out to be 90 feet. And there's a lot of texts that do that, and there is a lot of, you can see a lot, some of these pharaohs and things that are carved on walls, and then they have little people standing next to them cleaning their feet and stuff like that. These people were tall, they were big, and even in the beginning, but not like the giants. When they went through the roof, they went through the roof. And then they had to be wiped out. They had to be wiped out.
In Genesis 6, it talks about that exact scenario, and you have to think that, in the book of Enoch, I think also talks about some of these giants being the size of skyscrapers and stuff that
2.5 miles tall. 2.5 miles tall.
Yeah, just completely insane to think about being real, because I guess everything's so natural to us now. Everything's technology, everything's this, and it looks like a lot of this stuff has been covered up. I mean, even if you just find giant skeletons, which I know from my own research and evidence and people that I know that they even cover up those things. Just the idea of a human being 15 or 20 foot tall is enough to have certain organizations come and confiscate the bones. So I imagine this type of research, I don't know how it goes against the agenda that they want to teach to our youth or our people in general, but why do you think they're trying to, maybe don't want to do this kind of research, or they really don't put a lot of effort in understanding about this? Do you think it just goes against their agenda, or do you think it's there's another reason?
It changes everything. What they've been talking. It makes them look like they don't know what they're talking about, and that's true. They don't. They refuse to engage. That's not scientific. You see this right here? I'm holding up right in front of the camera.
Yep.
That's 2 inches wide, and that's a hair follicle. And there's no question about it. It's got the erector pili muscle attachment right there. And on the other side, these little globs hanging down are the sebaceous gland. See the sebaceous gland there? And if we go to the other side, we see where the muscle attached.
Pull it back just a little bit from the camera, because it's getting a glare on it. So pull it back.
Oh, okay, all right.
There we go. That's better.
All right, so there's the muscle. Right there. That's where the muscle attached to make the hair stand up on end. Around the other side is where the sebaceous gland is. Those little gooey looking things. There's the hair shaft up at the top, and at the bottom, here's where a root ball is. It's 2 inches wide.
Wow.
So and I have fingers. I have a fingertip that's 3 feet long. 3 feet long. Still has the fingernail and the fingerprints. Wow. And it's DNA tested. It's human. And the quality of the DNA was excellent, because I broke off a piece of the skin on the finger so that I could get down inside, because you can't get it from the outside of the fingertip. It's just too tough. So when I broke it off, I mean, it almost looked like blood was in there. The red blood just holds up forever, basically. I had guys break things open, and literally blood come out of them. Put his finger in it, and it just came out and soaking red blood. I have the same thing here. I have a lot of stuff that has blood still coming out of it.
It's wild. I wonder if that's why the Bible says the life's in the blood, and then it talks about letting the blood drain into the ground and such. And you have to wonder, like, nowadays they're collecting people's blood when they die and putting it who knows where. It's so strange to me, man, to think about the implications of all of this research.
There's a lot to it, but it's hard to get anybody to really pay attention or be interested in the mainstream. I've been really, really suppressed because of finding giants. That's what killed them. You know, they were giants, and you know, the first thing I heard from the professor at Yale when I said, you know, I found these, and I was actually talking to him, and I said I found these perfectly preserved fossils. And at that time I called it fascia facilitated fossilization. Fascia is the coating, which is like the membranes, and everything seems to come apart on those membranes. Even your skin is a membrane. And so I call it fascia facilitated fossilization. And I had a paper, it's up on academia.edu from 2015 with that name on it, fascia facilitated fossilization. And I explained the whole process. And I tried to explain that to Yale, and it was just a nightmare. And so I had my stuff DNA tested, I had a CAT scan, I had all the chemistry done, I had everything done. So this is all documented as to when I did this. And this was 2015. And it really points terribly at these universities, because it wasn't just Yale. I sent to all of them. And they just don't have any interest in anything unless you're coming there to give them money to do something. Basically, that's the way I see things now.
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems that whoever has the money backing the research, that's the choice, the way they choose to research based on who is funding their agenda, and it makes a lot of sense. And so with that being said, Roger, please tell people how they can see more of your stuff and how they can go down this rabbit hole with you and check out like all of these things if they're interested. Where's your website, and do you have a YouTube as well?
Well, it's just a YouTube that I have now. I had all that stuff and it was just destroyed. So it's Mudfossil University on YouTube. That's all, Mudfossil University. And Mudfossil's all one word. And for you, how do they find you, John? What do you...
Okay, I have a channel called Pounder's Quest, which is where this interview will air, but it's Pounder's Quest on YouTube. You can just type in Pounder's Quest. I also have another channel called NYS TV as well, but this will air on Pounder's Quest, so I'm excited to air it, man. I appreciate, you coming on here and talking about these things. And, I did a reaction video to a lot of, and some of the videos were your videos that were a part of this reaction video, and you'd be surprised at how many people in the comments section were like, you have to have Roger on here. And of course we'd already talked by the time I released this video, but I know this is going to be a good one, and I'm excited to maybe do this again sometime if you have other things that you want to show.
Absolutely. No. Next time I would like to have it so that I can make a smooth presentation. I'm not good at this, but if I could get the Google going and I could set up a good raft of pictures that we can go through and sort of a little more organized. I'm not a real organized person. I just sort of slam it out there, because everything goes. When you say one thing about one thing, 90% of the time there's something extra. There's a nuance to it. You know what I'm saying? It's not you just say one thing and that's it. It's even like you say, I got this crystal finger. Well, all fingers are crystal. No, wait a minute. Then you got to go down that path, and before long you're going into chemistry.
No, but I do like that. I really did want that, because most people, when they're saying, okay, like if it's a rock, then it's a rock. There's no way it can be a human, because they don't understand the scientific process for that to happen. So I really am glad you explained it, because I can guarantee you that 99.9999% of people have no idea what you're talking about, including myself, when it came to the scientific process behind it. So I'm glad you did mention that, because that needs to be taken into account to even consider any of this to be legitimate.
Not only that, this nucleophilic substitution, which is how our bodies work. when we consume food, it changes the nucleuses of the things that we're eating. Now, it doesn't just, you eat something that has calcium and it just stays calcium. No, enzymes make a bunch of different chemical reactions. They don't understand this because right now they just say you have to have good nutrition. Well, what does good nutrition mean? You have to have the good components, yes. But once they get inside of you, they have to be able to be broken down. And the only thing that does that is enzymes. And the only thing we get the enzymes from is a bacteria. And our bacteria in our bodies is basically destroyed. And when they give these kids immune stuff, vaccines and so forth, before their immune system is up to snuff and their bacteria is working, that's a problem. You know what I mean? There's so much, we can go so many different directions. Anyway, listen, we'll call it quits for today then, I guess.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you coming on, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. And Roger, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you giving me the chance to do it, brother. We'll do it again. All right, I'm going to...
The recording has stopped.
Okay, brother, I'm going to cancel out too.
Hey, it was good talking to you. We'll do it again soon, and I'm going to air this tonight probably. I'm going to try to get it done by 7. If not,